Hello, and welcome to Prog Chattery 777. I'll get my camera fixed up here. We were talking about Van der Graaf Generator. We have reached the end of the 70s period. This is the final album that was produced by the classic era of the band. Well, not classic era, but the 70s era. It is a live album, but it's kind of unique because it has a lot of new songs on it that weren't released otherwise until much later in some cases. And it's fantastic. It's by the Van der Graaf incarnation. There's no Generator. Although David Jackson has returned for this concert. This was recorded at the Marquee Club in London. Famous club. A lot of famous bands played there. It's got the same lineup as the previous album, Quiet Zone Pleasure Dome, which is Guy Evans on drums, Peter Hamill on vocals, guitar, and piano, Graham Smith on violin, and Nick Potter on bass, with the addition of David Jackson and Charles Dickey on cello. So quite a big band on this record. Probably the biggest Van der Graaf ever was, in fact. And it's interesting. This is a period in Van der Graaf history that I'm most fascinated with because I feel it's weird. It's more well documented than the classic Banton, Jackson, Evans, and Hamill lineup because it's the only one that has a live album. But it's still kind of mysterious. It was just this maybe year and a half, 2-year period where the band had completely revitalized itself and became a new band in a lot of ways. And yet this album is so different from the Quiet Zone, the Pleasure Dome. It is heavy. It is so freaking heavy. And it's with Vital that you can really understand why Van der Graaf Generator was more accepted by the punks, because there is this raw, heavy, crazy abandon to it. I mean, this is almost as much a punk album as it is a prog album. You know, they're still playing complicated songs with, you know, interesting arrangements in that, but it's just, you know, they're just, it's just crazy. They're playing like madmen. Like I said, total abandon is the way that I would describe it. But yeah, it's great. There's the back, that's the shot of the band playing in the Marquee Club. Some images there. On the gatefold, we've got some tour images. You can see the band getting up to their tomfoolery and whatnot on the road. Yeah, cool cover. Let's dive into the songs. It is a double album, by the way. I think it's on a single CD, but the original album was a double. And it opens with Ship of Fools. Absolutely love this song. Hamill's played this acoustically solo, but the version on here is really phenomenal. Again, it's one of those 3-chord wonders. It's unlike the rest of the Van der Graaf collection in that it's just a very short, raunchy, heavy kind of a song. But it's so heavy. It is just a... It's just, oh my god. you gotta hear it. And Hamill's voice is just absolutely ripping on it. He's just screaming like a unbridled madman, which is what we like out of Hamill, because he's good at that. Ship of Fools, the song itself, was recorded in the studio, and it was a B-side, I believe, for Cat's Eye Yellow Fever. So it was around. There was a studio version. And it's funny, because even the studio version sounds like it would have been out of place on Quiet Zone Pleasure Dome. It's just too heavy. Like the Quiet Zone Pleasure Dome, it has those moments of madness, but again, it's a really well-produced album, and it's very clean and very crisp. Like I said before, there's a lot of acoustic guitar on it. Where, I mean, this album, it's all electric, it's all heavy, it's all just attacking the listener with scary sounds and heavy guitar and distortion. The bass, Nick Potter's bass on this, he's got that bass effect on it, and it's just wicked. Yeah, so intense. Raw, live, Van der Graaf. The best, the only way to experience it. Anyway, the second song, Still Life. This is one of the old songs that they did. from the classic period, from the album Still Life, obviously. Very different arrangement here with the violin and the cello, and very successful actually. I think the song works exceptionally well with those two instruments. Side note, I mean, we're probably going to talk about the Peter Hammill solo albums because obviously, as you can tell, I'm a fan of the band and of Peter Hammill's, and it's this era that got him into working with violinists, which became a very, very important part of the solo career. So that's interesting. Little side note there. But yeah, Still Life, very different from the original version, but very good. I think it's excellent. That brings us to Last Frame, which closes side 1. Now, Last Frame is from Quiet Zone, Pleasure Dome on the first side. This is a much heavier version. It's hard for me to tell what's superior, because it's good to hear the live version because it's raw, because it's unadulterated, unbridled abandon and craziness. But I'm really not sure what my favorite version is. I really like the studio version. But then the intro to this and the live version with that bass, that boom, boom, so good, so good. Then we flip the first album over, the first side. We get Mirror Images, which opens side 2. Quite a good song. I feel I've probably overlooked it a little bit, even though Peter Hammill went on to record this for his album PH7 in 1979? 1979, yeah. PH7. This version, the band version, is much better than his solo version. Much more dynamic, it's longer. I think the lyrics are a little bit different. It's moody. It's kind of classic Van der Graaf stuff. It's probably closer in spirit to the God Bluff era, perhaps. But it does belong with this generation of Van der Graaf. Good song, not my favorite. Then side 2 moves into Medley, which is Plague of Lighthouse Keepers and the Sleepwalkers. Now with this we get the intro to Plague of Lighthouse Keepers, which is great, and then it kind of skips right ahead into the Custard's Last Stand crazy bit. Oh god, what does it go like? Yeah, that's the bit. Really good. It's great. And then it goes into the Sleepwalkers, the second half of Sleepwalkers, so it goes from the kind of the big build-up, rocky bit into the end. And yeah, again, it's really good, but I think I was so attached to the lyrics of these songs, I had trouble dealing with jumping from one to the other. Although, the older I get, I'll throw it on and I'll listen to it, and it's just great music. It's just great hearing that music. And it's great hearing it live because they like I said, this is a vicious album. It can't be understated. Like the heaviness that this band was achieving. I mean, they were heavier than all the metal bands, heavier than all the punk bands. I mean, they were just. It really was something special. And to have seen this lineup, heck, I was born about 13, 14 years too late, so there's no chance I would have seen it, but. This must have been incredible. To have seen the concert that this was recorded at must have blown your friggin' ears out. It was just mercilessly heavy. It's awesome. But the medley, I probably would have enjoyed that more if I was actually at the concert. It's when I listen to the album, it's like, oh yeah, okay, here it is. It's cool. And then I get into it, obviously, because it's good, but it's not my favorite. Then we go into side 3 and we get Pioneers Over Sea. Oh, very exciting. This is my favorite song off of H to HE. To me, it's an absolute out and out Van der Graaf Generator classic. And the version on this album is heavy. It's guitar. It's a guitar playing the main line instead of the organ, and the bits of madness, which were, like I said, the version on H to HE is a bit subdued and it's a bit kind of relaxed, where I mean this is absolutely manic, and it's very long too. I think it's 11-12 minutes, so it's a bit. I think it's extended. I think it's a bit longer than maybe it's 15 minutes. I don't know. I haven't looked. I'll have to check. But extended version and lots of great playing. Very heavy, very crazy, very awesome. Pioneers Over Sea. Really sad that the trio hasn't played this. I think it's a song that would be worth a stab, even though it is quite difficult. I just really like the song. Then side 3 moves on. The last song on side 3, we get Sci-Finance. Another song which Peter Hammill recorded in his solo career. He recorded this one again much later on in 1988 for the In a Foreign Town record. And the Van der Graaf version on this is far superior. It's great. I think Sci-Finance is probably, of the new songs that are presented on vinyl, the songs that don't otherwise appear on an album, I think Sci-Finance is probably the one that is most closely associated with Quiet Zone Pleasure Dome. I feel it would have fit on that album. It's just got a great guitar riff, doesn't it? You know, the weird time signature, and the riff is just awkward, and great lyric too. Hammill was very slowly getting into more social lyrics at this point in his career, in his writing career, and this is one of those early kind of social songs talking about, you know, the Wall Street types that are out there making their dollars. Good stuff. Then the album winds its way to side 4, and side 4 is probably it's the lesser of the sides for me personally. It's more the encores. It's the encores of the concert. But we do get a couple of new songs that were not recorded, and as of yet still have not been recorded. It opens with Door, which is a cool song. The K Group in the 80s, Hamill's solo group, the K Group, played Door. And it's really cool. I like how the end speeds up and it gets all crazy. Kind of it's back in that 4-chord wonder, 3-chord wonder song. Kind of like Ship of Fools. And that's the direction that I think that they were trying to head in. And had they made another album, they would have kind of continued on with this really heavy direction. I mean, obviously, the concerts were getting so heavy at this point. I mean, the band was just absolutely on frickin' fire. And Door is a great example of those kind of tracks. Those heavy, simple songs. Punky songs. Then we move on to Urban, which is, it's a weird one. It's really good. There's almost, it feels kind of 70s. I guess. And the verses are quite manic, but there's nice chords. There's nice open kind of chords they're not actually open chords, I don't think. I think it's still in standard tuning. But it's a cool song. It's almost fusion-y, I guess. There's a fusion kind of element, and that was going on at the time, mid to late 70s. And Urban also includes a little snippet of Killer from H to H-E, which is quite cool. Shows you they're still playing some of those early tracks well into the late 70s. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I like it. And the album finishes off, side 4 finishes off with Nadir's Big Chance, which of course is the title track from Hamill's 1974 solo album, Nadir's Big Chance. And it's great. A really good version. It's great to have a live version of that song. He doesn't play it that often, and I think the thing is it requires a band to play it because, you know, it's this big, kind of heavy, crazy punk rocker kind of a song. And it's a great version. Great version on this. So yeah, this wraps up the 70s Van der Graaf. We're going to carry on. I'm not going to do time volts because A, I don't have that, and I probably should because there is, you know, essential stuff, and being a proggy nerd kind of a person, I should probably get my ass motivated to get that one. But the next album we're gonna move to CDs. I don't have the next run on vinyl, sadly. We are going to do Present from 2005. So rounded up to 30 years later, this wonderful and unique and fantastic band would get back together 30 years later. That is so cool to me. That is just the coolest thing. That is the mark of a truly cool band if they can do that. And they came back and they made Present, and that's where we're gonna start picking it up again in a bit of time. So thank you very much for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying it. Like I said, I'm gonna do lots more albums. I know I'm focusing on Van der Graaf right now. I've only got 3 more albums to go, and then I'm gonna do the new one when it comes out. But I am gonna do more stuff. I really want to do Genesis. I might do some King Crimson. Like I said, there's I've got a big music collection. I'm just rattling off the things that are off the top of my head right now. But there's gonna be lots more stuff coming. So stay tuned and enjoy. We will see you in the future.